The 80s were not kind to Green Lantern Eating Co-op. It survived, though interest in it had waned over the years.
The late 60s was when the fraternities were unloading a bunch of houses. People didn't want to live in fraternities, but the co-ops got started. And so I think to some extent people with a co-op orientation started moving into these houses, and so that I think reduced some of the market for the Green Lantern.
The nail on its coffin came when it was audited by the State Revenue Department.
And then I think it was like in the summer of '83 that the Lantern fell afoul of the Department of Revenue. They members were postering, to tell people to join the Lantern, and somehow somebody, I guess, was a LTE worker, limited term employee out at Department of Revenue during the tax season or something, and they put up a Lantern poster, and they went and put it up on a bulletin board that belonged to the Compliance Bureau. And they got the Lantern basically because the Lantern wasn't paying sales and use tax, which had started in 1968. In the end, they let the Lantern off on any sales or use tax for the meal, but they did get the Lantern for not paying, I guess it was sales tax on the movie proceeds.
The fines imposed were more than the faltering co-op could handle, and in 1986 the Green Lantern closed, after 48 years as a Madison institution. Because MCC was a coalition of co-ops, it was able to put more effort into things beyond the day-to-day operation of its houses. By pooling maintenance expenses and collectively paying off mortgages, MCC had the capital to invest in new houses or in major maintenance projects. The combined effort of all its houses gave more direction and momentum to the co-op movement in Madison. Although independent houses were thriving overall, they were not making gains in the movement. In 1986, a group formed to start a new Jewish co-op with the help of Hillel and the Kibbutz Langdon Foundation. Grove's Women's Co-op was converted to co-ed in May 1987 after difficulties with vacancies and debts to MCC, and was renamed Mulberry Co-op. At the same time, Tralfamadore, one of MCC's larger owned houses, was having trouble filling vacancies and keeping a good house vibe. It was thought because of the house's dorm-like lack of aesthetic beauty. The idea was considered of moving Ofek Shalom to Tralfamadore, or buying new houses for both groups. In late 1987, MCC decided to sell Tral after efforts to breathe life into the house failed. Ofek jumped from house to house as it was kicked out by its landlords, and it wasn't until April of 1990 that MCC was able to buy them a house. In 1991, MCC bought 20 North Franklin without even a concept of who had lived there. Soon a group of women coalesced and decided to make it into an 8-person, more easily filled women's co-op. Only a few years later, Mulberry, the former Groves, was having problems, and it had to be restarted as Hypatia Co-op. International Co-op, a major instigator of the 60s co-op movement, was having problems with filling vacancies and with drug-dealing house members. It sought help from MCC but remained independent. The house was unable to pull itself together and defaulted on its mortgage. MCC took over the mortgage and put more effort into resuscitating the house, and eventually succeeded in turning around its social and financial problems. By the late 90s, MCC was ready for expansion again and bought a house on Francis to start the 16-member activist-themed Emma Goldman Co-op. Around this time, Le Chateau was restarted a few times and eventually stabilized as Phoenix Co-op. By the turn of the century, MCC was working on getting a new office space and teamed up with 3 other nonprofits to purchase the old Willie Street Co-op building to create the Social Justice Center.
It's definitely going to improve our visibility. This is going to be the first time where our office is really like on a main road and people can drive by and know that we're here and stop in and use our resources.
As well, in the year 2000, MCC bought the Goo Hut on the Near East Side, which had previously been an informal rental co-op. Today, housing co-ops in Madison are doing well. They have evolved over the years, yet retained many of the characteristics of their predecessors, such as affordable housing, collective decision-making, a focus on community, and a dedication to creating a model for a better way of living. There are a little over 20 housing co-ops in Madison right now, and when they are healthy, none seem to have any trouble staying filled. Madison is unique from other cities in North America in that its housing co-ops are not dominated by students. MCC's membership is around 60% students, compared with 95 to 100% for nearly every other similar large co-op system on the continent. If zoning laws change and co-ops are able to expand into new neighborhoods, this ratio could change. It's very likely that there is a demand for more housing co-ops, and that they could eventually become as widespread a form of housing as apartments or condominiums. Each co-op is unique in many ways from every other co-op. Each has a different culture based on the group of people living in it at any given time. Decision-making structures and systems for upkeep vary slightly from house to house as well. The size of a house plays a big part in determining its culture, too. Asada Co-op, formerly Martha's, has always been known as a house for children. Their child subsidy program allows children and their parents or parent to live there for much less than most other downtown living situations.
But there'll be lots of food.
Today, eating co-ops are integrated into all of the houses. At most houses, members pay a monthly fee ranging from $70 to $100 for food. Also at most houses, the basic food plan is vegetarian, and meat must be purchased by individuals, although some houses buy meat. At Syntropy Co-op on the Near East Side, members pay around $90 a month for a mostly organic vegetarian meal plan. While at Asada Co-op, the meal plan is around $82 a month and sometimes includes fish and poultry.